This section of the DevTrack Product Expert Training will cover using workflow to implement your unique process. The topics we will cover include state versus transition-based workflow, defining and modifying your workflow process, interactive versus quick actions within that workflow, and then using the defined workflow in the DevTrack web client. The workflow automation settings are covered in a separate presentation. The DevTrack workflow settings are managed within the DevSuite admin. You simply open your DevTrack project and go to the workflow section. Under workflow options, the first one is your workflow type. And there are two types, a transition-based workflow, which we recommend, and a state-based workflow. State-based simply has a list of states, and you will select from a drop-down list which state you would like an issue to move to. The transition-based workflow provides much more power and flexibility, which is what we will cover here today. The workflow design is a graphic interface. You literally draw your process into our tool. If you can draw your process on a piece of paper or a whiteboard, you can easily implement it into DevTrack. This process diagram is seamlessly implemented into the DevTrack interface. You can see that from a new bug status, there's a transition called Start Work that moves it to In Process. If I move to the DevTrack interface here, I can go to anything in a new bug status, and there's a button here called Start Work. And if I click on Start Work, that will allow me to edit that issue and save it, and now it will have moved that into an in progress status based on the workflow diagram. If I want to define or modify workflow, I simply right click in the white background and I can add a state. In this case, I want to add the ability of submitting a new feature. I can resize this, and then I can simply draw a transition from new down to the new feature and call this submit feature. I can move this around and resize it to make things easier to read in the diagram. And from new feature, I want to be able to move down to in progress. I'll say begin work. I'll make that a quick action. The quick action means that it will bypass that interactive dialog and simply with one click move it into the target state. One of the most powerful aspects of this workflow engine is the ability of improving and modifying your process over time. You can begin with a very simple process that takes care of today's needs, and then when needed, simply add additional states. For example, maybe you would like the ability to place something on hold temporarily while it's in progress. So you simply create a state, add that to the diagram, and then make a transition line from in progress to on hold. I will say hold for now. And I don't want to make this a quick action because I actually want to define some fields and have the person making that transition provide some background as to why we're placing this on hold. And then from on hold, we're going to move back to in progress. I'll call this reactivate. And in that case, I'll make it a quick action. Now, by simply making these changes, when I change my focus in the tree, it will save those to the database, and I'm going to publish these to the web server through the reload button here in the admin. And then if I come back to the DevTrack web interface and go to my issue list, I'll be able to see, first of all, if I go to submit a new record, I now have a new option to submit a new feature as well as a new bug. And if I come to the issue list and look for something that is in an in progress status, I now have a new button that says hold for now, and if I click on that, I'm able to enter comments. Need to hold this, and I'll save that. But if I reactivate, if I click that, it will immediately make that change without requiring the interaction because I marked that as a quick action in the workflow. So the workflow definition is very flexible. You can easily define whatever your process is, no matter how simple or complex. And most importantly, you can improve it and modify it over time based on actual experience so that you can always ensure that your system can grow as your process requirements grow as well.